Yes, welcome into Sports Bet Betting Insight today, Tuesday, September 13th. Paulie and Teddy, big game breakdown is going to be the Dodgers and the Yankees market report. All the moves so far, market moves, college and pro football. 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro, and we'll recap how the books did, how the players made out. You won't believe the story of one bettor who had a $7,000 parlay. Jimmy will tell us that story coming up. 10-2 in football. We got another football pick with money time. It's been money time with the play of the day. The Monday Night Football doubleheader, Teddy. Oh my God. If you've seen the movie Donnie Brasco, we told you the Redskins are fugazi. They have played 4 good teams the last 2 seasons. They're 0-4, Teddy, and the games haven't been close.
No, all 4 losses by 17 points or more for Washington against the 4 playoff teams they faced. Remember what happened, how they closed out last year. They were chalk to Green Bay in the playoff game. Washington was favored in that game. All right, that's where the opinions of were the Redskins as late as last January. Here, obviously, they were home dogs, but they took a whole bunch of money against Pittsburgh. That was a bad bet. Those who were betting the Redskins, and that was wise guys. Wise guys moved the game off of 3 with a boatload of Redskins money. You know, line got bet down to 2.5. Oops.
Yep. Shocking but true. The Redskins are 1-15 straight up in their last 16 games at home on Monday Night Football. Can you believe it? How come Norman wasn't on Antonio Brown?
Yeah, the Steelers found a way to get Brown on the opposite side of Norman. And I have not yet seen the explanation for that from the Washington coaching staff. But again, I'm no Jay Gruden fan. I don't know that I've ever been a Jay Gruden fan. I remember him from the Arena Football League. And he was never one of my favorite coaches in the AFL either. But, I mean, the Redskins didn't adjust, you know. Brown caught 2 touchdown passes. And on that final drive in the fourth quarter, I mean, the Redskins looked like they were going to make a game of it. You know, they had momentum. They had the crowd roaring. They just scored a touchdown. And there's Pittsburgh. They're 3rd and long a couple of times on that next drive. And boom, Antonio Brown finding a way to get open on 3rd and 13 for the first down. Doing it again later in the drive. And Pittsburgh playing like a veteran Super Bowl caliber team, closing out an opponent on the road the way that teams with 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterbacks can do. And the way that teams that are quarterbacked by Kirk Cousins, not so easy.
Yeah, D'Angelo Williams again. I mean, he had a great game. No Bell, no problem. No Bryant, no problem. Big win for the Steelers. The other game, oh my God. 49ers shut out the Rams 28-0, Teddy. At one point, there were more punts than points. I don't know if it's the quarterback play. Well, certainly the quarterback play has been atrocious the last couple of years. It's the scheme with the Rams. There's no creativity or imagination.
I mean, what do we say?
Oh.
Jeff Fisher told him, man, you watch Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
We're not going 7-9 this year. You're right, Jeff. That's why I bet you under 7.
Yeah, 7.5, yeah.
Exactly, got 7.5 in the pocket. Let's make this very clear, okay? Case Keenum is not an NFL quarterback. That was on full display throughout the course of the 2015 campaign. It was on display again last night. And I guess I called him serviceable when we were talking about the game in the preview. Serviceable is not necessarily the type of quarterback you want to be laying points with on the road in a season opener. But the bottom line is this. Jeff Fisher's team wasn't ready. I mean, the 49ers, they weren't doing anything fancy. They just ran the football and smashed it down LA's throat. And it's a Rams team that's, by their strength, is supposed to be that defensive line. And that's what we saw at the end when Donald went nuts and threw his helmet and got ejected and all of that sort of thing. I mean, the LA defensive line played as bad as their offensive line did. They got dominated on both sides of the ball in the trenches.
They were playing games with that total, which I had 46 in my pocket a month ago. Never had to sweat that, but it was 46, bet down to 42, bet back up to 43.5.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was tempo. You know, San Fran played with tempo. Of course, all the tempo in the world doesn't help San Fran without weapons. Because even though they scored 28 points in this game, let's not forget what San Fran did on Monday Night Football in their opener last year, where they destroyed Minnesota and then proceeded to be a disaster for anyone that bet on them. Well, the Vikings were the best point spread team in the NFL for the rest of the year. I don't know if we're going to see that again with this San Fran-LA scenario, but I mean, I do think that there's some hope for the Rams, but I'm confident that the San Francisco team that we saw last night is not going to be a team that maybe looked as good as they did against LA in week 1. They do not have offensive weapons. And Gabbert is okay on a night where the defense isn't blowing up every play in the backfield, but given the nature of that 49er offensive line and given the nature of their lack of downfield threats, man, that team's going to have a hard time putting the biscuit in the basket against some better foes.
Well, yeah, you nailed that. Let's go rapid fire here with the bad for the books. Hendricks almost throws a no-hitter. Cubs beat the Cardinals, and Hendricks and the Cubbies cover the run line again. This guy has to start in Game 2 of the playoffs after Lester. He leads MLB in ERA.
Well, this is the insanity of what's going on with the Cubs. Okay, it's their number 3 starter. And you can call him, even though he's leading the major leagues in ERA, you can call him the 3rd best starter on the team. Can the 3rd best starter on the team win a Cy Young award?
He's not
He's got a .198 ERA. He had a no-no into the 9th.
He's better than Arrieta.
What's that?
He's better than Arrieta.
I know. Right now he is, for sure. But think about how good Arrieta's been.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, not as good over the last couple of months, but, you know, for that 1 year span, Arrieta was the best pitcher in baseball. And so you can't dismiss him.
Mm-hmm.
Hendricks is the 3rd, you know, he's the number 3 starter on that team. And he's going to win a Cy Young if he keeps doing what he's doing. And as you mentioned, the run line, the books hate the Cubs. They hate the Cubs. They're flipping off the Cubs every day. Another Cubs win on the run line, offering a plus price return, mind you. Hendricks has cashed a run line bet in all 15 of his W's this year.
Yep, more bad for the books. Heavy move, big move on the Dodgers, and a big move on the Blue Jays. Somebody thought Liriano would pitch well. He did. 3-2 Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Dodgers-Yankees opened to pick 'em and closed L.A. minus 155, even higher at some of the books. Somebody knew something about Yankee starter Brian Mitchell. He threw 5 innings of shutout ball in his MLB debut. The second game, not so pretty. 8 hits, 6 runs allowed in 2.1 innings of work, although only 2 of those runs were earned against those big L.A. bats. And you talk about the Blue Jays, you know, somebody thought Francisco Liriano would buckle down, and they were right. Although the game was 2-2 in the bottom of the 8th until Ezequiel Carrera hits a home run to win it.
All right, 2 bad bets, and these were really bad. Big move on the Indians. They got beat, and the Giants went off as $3 against the Padres.
I mean, that's such a struggling team. You know, Bochy's got to be getting worn down from watching what the Giants have done over the back half of the campaign. They can't pitch, they can't hit, and this is a team that we were talking about, Paulie, you and I, on this show. You know, before the All-Star break, saying San Fran's the team to beat. Chicago's got to watch out for San Fran. Now I think the Dodgers are the team to beat. As for Carrasco, I mean, you know, and the Indians, Carrasco had nothing last night. 84 pitches only got him through 3.2 innings of work in an ugly loss in a game where the Indians, as you mentioned, took, you know, that game was bet from 140 to 190. And at this stage of the year, when an MLB line starts moving, doesn't usually stop. There's not a whole lot of buyback.
Up next, big game breakdown, Dodgers and the Yankees, and we'll get to all the market moves in football. And Jimmy Vaccaro with 5 great minutes, recap how the books did and how the players fared in football, and you'll want to stick around for the play of the day. We're 10-2 on the football season, and we've got an NFL game coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Hey, SportsBit viewers, check out today's MLB Odds Couple show, Tuesday, September 13th. Mike Brenner, you had a winning day yesterday as well. I'm on fire, though. I don't usually say that about Mike.
No, I know you don't.
I'm up over 1% ROI on the year now, and to check in today's show, I make a lot of jokes. No jokes right now.
No
I'm going to
jokes.
have like 20 picks. And,
Oh, my God,
and I'm liking a lot of them. Tune in today's show.
I got to
Mike
tell
Brenner.
this. I got to say this with all seriousness.
yeah.
You never gloat. You're
No.
not that guy.
No, I'm not
but you know
gloating.
what? I love the wave of energy from when you
I'm feeling it.
stay. You are
Feeling
feeling it, baby.
Tune into the show today,
Damn,
September
Pistol
13th.
Pete.
Back on SportsBit, time for Big Game Breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Dodgers now with a 4-game lead in the NL West. They continue their series against the Yankees. Urias against CC. Dodgers $1.48 and a half the total. And CC 8-12 with an ERA of 4.27. Maybe he's running out of gas, Teddy, because he didn't have much against Tampa Bay.
I don't know. I mean, CC's been battling. You know, he's got 104 innings this season, and it's close to the league average in terms of ERA. Don't worry so much about the win-loss record. When you look at his season as a whole, it's probably a win for the Yankees when you look at what he's been able to do. Now, last time out against Tampa, a lineup that sees him all the time, you know, it only lasted 4 innings. He gave up 3 home runs during that span. But, you know, 5 of his last 6 starts have come against teams from the AL East. So this might be kind of a break for him to face hitters that don't know him. And, of course, he's facing a Dodger team They've got one weakness, and it hasn't changed from day one this year, Paulie. LA cannot and does not hit left-handers. Well, look at the graphic. I mean, it's so simple right here. For the season, OPS against righties, number 7 in baseball. Against lefties, dead last, number 30, with a 633 OPS, 636 OPS. I bet the Dodgers a couple times saying, this is going to change, plus prices, hasn't changed. Hasn't changed from the beginning of the season till right now. They are not hitting southpaws.
Well, it certainly helps. Puig's been dynamite since they called him up from AAA. Hit another home run last night. So it's the kid against the old man in this one. Urias goes for the Dodgers, Teddy, and he's been lights out, but it's his first start in 12 days.
Yeah. He got a bruised finger last time out, but boy, his last 3 starts, he's been pretty darn good. The Dodgers have been rolling, and Urias has been a monster. What is it, 2-0 with a .56 ERA, 20 strikeouts in 17.1 innings of work, and only 3 walks. When you look at the way Rich Hill is pitching, and you look at the way that Clayton Kershaw is capable of pitching, you throw Urias, man. That's a scary 1-2-3 for opposing teams to think about when it comes to postseason baseball.
What'd you think of Roberts taking Hill out with a perfect game after 7?
Oh, I'm liking Dave Roberts more and more every week. I really am. It was absolutely the right move to pull Hill after 7. Perfect. I don't care. You can have a perfect game and ruin your arm and ruin your season. This team is gearing up to win some playoff series this year, not to get their aging veteran a perfect game in the regular season. And when you think about it, I mean, the NL is going to have a bunch of perennial losers in the postseason. The Nats repeated postseason failures. The Dodgers repeated postseason failures. The Cubs, 0 recent history of postseason success, failing in the postseason last year. Going to be a lot of teams with bad track records. I like what Roberts is doing to change that mentality for LA.
Yep, I agree with everything there. All right, market moves. Let's start in the NFL. Thursday night, the Bills and the Jets. Money showing on the Jets and the under, Teddy.
Yeah. There was +3s on the Jets at the opener. That went down to 1.5, and now down to pick'em. The total goes from 42.5 down to 41. Now there are 40s popping up. Certainly, there's some anti-Buffalo sentiment in this number. And, of course, the Jets in double revenge, losing both meetings against the Bills last year, including the last one, which kept them out of the postseason. But a lot of this also has to do with the injuries that the Bills suffered in that ugly loss at Baltimore. Sammy Watkins, very much a question mark. Here's a report. There was a report from the New York Daily News that Watkins could be shut down for several weeks. That's not what Rex Ryan said. Quote, that's not what we're thinking right now. I'm confident that Watkins will be okay. Hopefully he'll progress through the week and he'll be ready to roll. Now, it's worth noting the team's only going to hold walkthrough practices before that Thursday night game, so we may not know right up until kickoff whether Sammy Watkins is going to be able to play or not.
Yeah, no surprise here. New England money. Garoppolo played well, and now Miami struggled on offense against Seattle. And the Ravens, it's RG. Welcome back, Josh McCown.
RG3. And RG3 took all the first-string snaps throughout the preseason. So it's not like McCown's, you say, oh, there's not that much difference between the two. There's a difference between the two when it comes to the familiarity with running that offense. And, of course, with basically new personnel at every position in Cleveland. Even though RG3 himself is not a guy you're going to adjust the power rating for significantly, you got to knock the Browns down a notch or two, even if you had them as the worst team in the NFL. Certainly the markets have with that early money on Baltimore.
Yep, money with the Saints over, of course, after the shootout and their awful defense against the Raiders, and money came in on the Broncos because the Colts, that was horrible against Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints total bet up to 51 from 51.5. Now 52.5, 53s are popping up, and there's nobody out there. Nobody, Paulie, wants to bet the Saints under right now. Certainly not at these type of numbers. We get a 60 on New Orleans, maybe we'll see some under money, but not so far. And, of course, a lot of money on the Broncos. That total bet up. We haven't seen money being bet on Bronco games over the total for basically the last year and a half. And particularly home games for Denver have been one under after the next. And yet that Indy defense, boy, the markets don't like it. Heavy money against Indy last week, too. And cluster injuries all over their secondary.
All right, how about the Chargers and then the Monday night game, Chicago and Philly?
Well, I mean, the Chargers opened 2.5 against the Jags at some spots. Now it's up to 3 with heavy juice, threatening to go to 3.5, despite the Keenan Allen injury, an impact injury for San Diego. And, of course, that epic the Chargers collapsed, where they blew a 3-score lead in the fourth quarter. And on Monday Night Football, the Bears have been bet up from as low as -1 up to -3 against the Eagles. The market's just not respecting Philly off of their blowout over Cleveland. They're just disrespecting Cleveland off that blowout over Cleveland. No respect for the Eagles just yet.
College football now, anti-Duke money for the second straight week, and I know it's Urban Meyer against Bob Stoops, but Oklahoma underdogs at home against the Buckeyes. We saw some Oklahoma money.
Yeah, we sure have. Ohio State opened as high as -3 in Norman. That's down to 1.5 now, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we continue to see Sooners money between now and kickoff. And the money for Northwestern against Duke. Duke looked real young last week against Wake. Northwestern coming off a loss to a FCS squad. The markets liked them anyway. Bet from -6 up to the key number of -7.
Yeah, Texas money again, and they bet Stanford. Teddy, explain this scheduling spot. What's going on with Stanford here?
Well, it's a fascinating story for Stanford. They've been real good in week one of their Pac-12 campaign. 7-1 against the spread their last 8 Pac-12 openers. That's come under Shaw, and it also came under Jim Harbaugh. Stanford runs on a quarter system. They don't start fall classes until September 26th. So guess what their players get to do? Well, everyone else has to deal with some academics. Stanford, they don't have to deal with the academics. And for a rigorous academic school like Stanford, it makes a big difference. So you play week 1, and then you kind of have a second training camp. Like you have a bye week, and there's no classes, and you're focused on football. Classes, like I said, don't start for another 2 weeks. So that gives the Cardinal kind of a hidden edge. That's at least part of the reason why Stanford's been bet up from -6.5 to -8.5 against USC from the opening numbers.
Yeah, no surprise with Texas money?
No, I mean, the Cal defense did not acquit itself any better against San Diego State than it did in their opener against Hawaii. Their defense looks pretty rough right now, and Texas offense looks like they can score points in bunches against a team like Cal.
Up next, 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro, bookmaker for 40 years at the South Point in Las Vegas. He'll recap how the players in the books did over the weekend, and we look to make it 11-2 on the football season. Money time coming up, the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at SBRodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
Back on SportsBit, time for 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro. Check him out at the South Point. Follow him on Twitter at Jimmy Vaccaro. 40 years as a bookmaker in this racket. All right, tell me what it was like. Was it like the Super Bowl? How long were the lines at your book?
We had to send out pictures, Paulie, because I wanted to make sure that people didn't think I was over-exaggerating. We put one of our girls up on a chair and took some pictures and sent it to our website. It was like Super Bowl Sunday. I had never seen nothing like this. It was SRO only. We have our 12 windows in the sports book, and we used 3 out of the race book. And until they kicked off at 10:05, there was a minimum of 15 to 20 people in line. This was nonstop from about 20 to 7 till we kicked off. Now, everything that I've talked with the other guys around the city, it's the same thing over and over and over again. We can't keep up with the traffic. Yes, throw in the things that we know have created business, and yes, we understand the mobile apps are important, but yes, we must understand, and the people who hold these things in high esteem will have the chance to change the rules for the United States to have betting nationwide. They're insane. If they would see what happens, there's nothing wrong with it. People love to come out. And these kids, they may be a little crazy, but they're so athletic. Then you see endings like you did yesterday, which Martin Scorsese couldn't script. How much better can you get, my friend? Really, how much better can you get?
Yeah, amen, brother. But, I mean, all the finishes. You had a record for teams with the fourth quarter comebacks in week 1.
I had never seen it. I'll give you one. As we talked about again incessantly, it's like people like to bet these teasers and they like to bet these money lines, these huge money line parlays where they line up 6 or 7 teams, anywhere from a 6 to a 15-point favorite. Put about $7,000 to $10,000 on and figure it's just stick around for a couple hours and naturally you'll pick up $1,200-$1,500. And here's one. The reason I know about this is because this kid went from window to window to window. Saturday, you ready for this one? He bet a 7-teamer for $7,000, anywhere between a 4. And as he was telling the coach, he says, I'm going to have a throw-in game here, too. I know this one can't lose. Give me Oklahoma State. So after the game was over, he just kept showing his ticket to everybody in the sports book. How could this happen? How could this happen? It can happen, and you know what, my friend? It's going to happen again.
Oh my God, that's staggering. How about that? My God, explain the Scoop Jackson where you win everything because the Patriots won outright.
Well, the Patriots and the Colts were our two biggest games here. The other games, it was like yin and yang, but we actually ground out money going into that. But when you come down to a game that actually, if you really go back, Paulie, before the Brady suspension was even talked about, that game was sent out maybe, I think it was 1 Arizona way back when. Then naturally we kept adjusting during the course of the summer as it looked like he wasn't going to play. First it went to 3.5 and 4, then it went to 5, 5.5, and then obviously from Wednesday on it went crazy. And we closed 9.5. And yes, other than maybe some smarts buying back at a huge 9.5 or bought it up into 10. We won every ticket. I'd say it was one of those silent games where you did really, really well. It was the last 2-point safety by the Colts. Remember, it was on 2, which means you still had a few people out there who had tickets who would win with the teaser with the Colts, and they threw the ball all around. Bang, safety, 4-point difference, ripped those tickets up. So the Colts game and the Patriot game made for the South Point a great Saturday and a great Sunday.
Jimmy, it was like Ohio State Northwestern. They kept going backwards on the lateral. You knew it was going to be a safety. You knew it was going to come.
Well, everybody at that joint, again, that was one of those things, Paulie. Maybe one of these guys should go back and see exactly how long that play took. Because I'm guessing maybe 45 seconds, and as I'm standing there like everybody else in the book, it's high-pitched screaming because there's still people who want the Colts to win, naturally. There's still people who want to see a fantastic ending, and there's still people who had the teasers on the Colts. And it was insane, the noise level that went to as they're throwing the ball back and forth. And yes, it took at least 45 seconds. So here again, we can't script these things. We can't dream up an ending like this and that. And then, the Patriot game, I mean, how much more credit we have to keep throwing on Bill Belichick. Now, we do understand that he had all summer to prepare Garoppolo. Yes, and we know that the move came a few days ago only because Gronkowski ruled out. We know that we didn't know Ninkovich was going to be out, but he wound up being out. Two of the offensive linemen were hurt. But for him to go to a place, and now remember also, when you come out, the Arizona Cardinals are talked about as like one of the teams to get there. You talk about a bad radio wicket they're going to have in Phoenix this week because they somehow screw it up. And they had to have a bad snap, and the kid missed a 47-yarder. So, yes, we had a very good weekend. The handle, before I left, I didn't check out the last game to throw it in there, but I guarantee you it was the biggest opening Sunday the state of Nevada ever had by a long shot.
Jimmy Vaccaro, our guest from the South Point in Las Vegas. So you said it was a pretty good Sunday for you. What were some bad results? Did a tough finish with the middle with the Green Bay Jacksonville?
Yeah, we got laid out pretty good on that because there was a lot of -3.5 and -4 because we had it 5.5 earlier in the weekend. The smarts were all over the dog there. And I would venture to say that not by much, but Jacksonville actually outplayed them. Another bad result. Remember, we put up the Minnesota Vikings way back when at 2.5, and there was bet up to 3, 3.5, and then Bridgewater gets hurt, so we readjusted that line also. And so there were still the people who laid the 3.5 way back when they got the cash there. But how can you say they beat the team beat them and the other team didn't have any offensive touchdowns? The 2 defensive touchdowns, turns around for Tennessee. And once again, here we go. It seems as good as some of these young players get and as good as these teams are waiting to break out, Tennessee seems to stumble all over themselves. I don't know where you go with Rex Ryan. The play calling was insane. They had a lot of chances. Utilizing timeouts, we don't even want to get into that, pal, because you can sit down and go for about another half an hour. But they are the boss, but they haven't got one clue how they don't save time. The Miami guy, he's letting the clock run down. And I don't understand it there. Give yourself a chance. The Saints game, I give the guy credit. Whether what side you're on, whether they go for 2 or they don't go for 2, they still could have utilized more time. Giving Breeze 40 seconds and the ball and everybody gassed on the other side, they probably would at least have had a chance to do that. But like I said, we can be here till mid-afternoon and talk about these games. But all I can tell you is football is back, my friend.
Yep, thanks for hitting on everything. I agree with just about everything you just said when you ran down the finishes. One more. Hey, there's no let-up, Jimmy. Now Saturday we got a great college schedule, and we got Louisville and Florida State at 9 in the morning.
Wow. I don't. All I know is we may see the first 100-point over and under every game Louisville is in anymore.
Ooh.
I mean, that's incredible. It's just incredible. It was 21-0 against Syracuse, and that was a big move on the favorite there. And it was 21-0 with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. So
Yes.
What can I tell you, kid?
You're the best. Thanks for 5 great minutes. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week, sir.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
All right, thanks to Jimmy Vaccaro. Follow him on Twitter at Jimmy Vaccaro with 2 C's. Teddy, how about the bridge jumper? 7,000 to win 1,000.
Oh yeah, that's a brutal way to lose. But you call them a bridge jumper. There are guys that use that strategy. They bet the very heavy favorites on the money line, and they expect to just grind out a profit. But of course, all it takes is one wrong decision, and you lose a whole big chunk of change. 7 dimes. Rough afternoon for a guy trying to make just one.
Yeah, on a play that shouldn't have happened because the officials blew it. That really is going to be tough to take. All right, a winner yesterday with the Steeler-Redskin game over. 10-2 on the football season. Let's make it 6 in a row. Teddy, where are we going?
Well, we're not going to know how this is going to turn out till next Sunday, but I thought it was important to get this up now because this line's going to 7. Let's go. Play of the day. Game number 267. We can still get the Baltimore Ravens at -6.5. Now, take a look at the picture. What happens to a veteran quarterback when he sees film of the Brown defense he's about to face? Yeah, that's a pretty big smile. How do you make money betting September NFL? You bet against the very worst teams. Cleveland is god-awful, laying less than a touchdown off Baltimore, having not a great offensive game last week. Look for the Ravens to take care of business here and bet it now. This line's only going to go up. Play of the day, number 267, Baltimore, -6.5. That's a play for NFL this coming Sunday.
All right, let's come on. 10-2 on football season. Tell your friends, tell your family. Get the views up, and up. Let's keep it going for football season. Tomorrow, big game breakdown. Houston and Cincinnati in college, and the Jets and the Bills in the NFL. That's how we'll roll during the football season. Thursday will be college, big game breakdown. Friday, the NFL. We'll talk to you Wednesday on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.